Welcome. Not the first time I've been accused of a premature start, but welcome everyone. How are we all doing? Welcome to the selection table. And because we are a Carlton selection committee, it wouldn't be fitting, would it, if I didn't have mass outs as we get to round 15. Apologies coming from Ian, who is having to play boss today. Last minute, he is leading the charge at his work, so he's working late. Leckdog was always going to be an out. I'm sounding like Michael Voss here. It was always the plan for Leckdog to be out. Always the plan. Nothing to worry about. He will be back next week. But he has got some things in his personal life he's got to deal with. And the great man, Nick, Horizon Finance, this is his last week where he's out because end of financial year is this week. So he will be back on deck. But like Carlton, there has to be one guy that I make come out bandaged and ready to steal the furnace with me. The great man, Mr. Jono Baroque. How are you, Jono?
Evening, Pom. Evening, chat. We're holding down the fort. It's kind of like round 23 last year, where it's just us two and whoever else is left heading on the plane to Perth with Patrick Cripps to go and try get a result to save the sinking season. But we're here. We're here for another week, picking another team, a team that's had a couple of wins. And interesting this week. See what happens. It's a bit like I kind of put it out in the tweet yesterday when the injury report came out, Pom. Like it's nice that the bright side is we waited until round 15 until we got an injury report just like that. So we had our nice little run, but of course, when things are starting to maybe take a little bit of a turn, the injury bug hits, and there's some decisions to make.
It's classic, isn't it? Just when you think you've got no injuries, you get them. I mean, this time last year, everyone was saying sack Russell. Who do we sack now, Jono? With these injuries, like if it wasn't Russell, who was it?
Oh, I said this on Terry's show 2 weeks ago when I did the Blue Abroad show, but as sports fans, everyone just wants a scapegoat, right? Everyone's just looking for someone. They will find someone in the medical department at Icon Park that they can come out and parade around with their head on a stick and march around to say, this is the reason why our season went to shit, and they're going to be the reason. And Zonk Steele's going, like, still sack Russell. He's not there anymore, mate. You can't sack him.
Yeah, you know, if he is working though, we should put in false complaints and get him sacked from that place. It's all we've got left, chat. We're taking someone with us.
We've all got that. Well, if we're still sacking people, sack Mick Malthouse. Wherever he is, just sack him again.
Well, I thought we'd do something a bit differently this week. I thought what we do is, because I don't know about you, chat, and I don't know about you, but Jono, but have you noticed like a fallout from 2 wins before? Like, I was chatting to a good mate of mine who is a massive Lions fan, and he actually upset me, like deeply upset me. I was actually quite offended. I don't get offended quite easy, but he texts me like a screenshot of like the Carlton win post. And he was like, the best thing about Carlton fans is he was like, no one is more obnoxious and moronic than your fan base, win, lose or draw. And I was like, hang about, I'm one of them. Do you know what I mean? I'm a Carlton fan, don't tell me. But it did get me thinking, it has been very ferocious, hasn't it? And can anyone remember a time on the back of a win where it has been ferocious? Because it does feel like we've lost.
Yeah, you'd think that if you take if you take a snapshot of the reaction of it, particularly of the last 2 weeks, like fair enough, in the moment when the final siren goes, you're in an emotional state and it's just like, yeah, we won, but thank fuck that's over. And even now, a few days removed from the game, it's like, yeah, we won, but thank God that's over. I saw a stat today, Pom, that like since the year 2000, aside from the two expansion teams, we've won the least amount of games. It's sad. So like it kind of gets me in the sense of like, you know what, you still haven't had many wins since the turn of the century. Just enjoy them as they come. But on the flip side, I do kind of understand where the sentiment is coming, and particularly that emotional sentiment. It's a season that hasn't gone to plan. It was a season with set expectations that were a lot higher than what they have been, and they haven't been reached. So, like, yeah, you've won. You've achieved the goal of winning the game that week, and you're going to run into a North Melbourne team, which we'll talk about a little bit, where a game where you're expected to win. And okay, yeah, if you win that one, you square the ledger. It's still nowhere near where you expected to be, and that's where I think the emotion comes into it, and the anger around the team. And fair enough, there is a degree of anger around the team and the year and the type of season that we've had, going all the way back to the first week of January when the president decided to set off the chain reaction of bad things to happen this year. But, you know, as I'll look at it, and I'm sure we'll get to it when we chat a bit about the team, Pom, it's like it's round 15, and as grim as things may look, you're still in the season and you still have a fighting chance. It's not time to completely jump off yet, even though you know there is change going to come at the end of the year. Worry about that at the end of the year. For the here and now, it's round 15, and we've got a game against North Melbourne at the MCG at 1:10 on Saturday afternoon. So let's focus on that. And as I say, if you get through that the way that you should, you've squared the ledger and you're still in the season.
Which is unbelievable, really, isn't it? Like,
it's
unbelievable to think we could be break evens, like, because it doesn't feel like a break even season, does it, Jono?
No, it doesn't, and it's funny too, right? So you look at that top 8, you look at the teams that are there, you look at the teams that are above us. Like the Doggies are 9th. Everyone thinks, oh, the Doggies are one of the teams that can seriously challenge for the flag this year. They're not even in the 8. So anything can happen. We're a game behind the Western Bulldogs now, so it's crazy. So like, well. The eight probably feels like it's set, but it's not. But it also does feel like the gap between particularly the top teams, and sort of the pack that we're kind of in, which is the group outside looking in, not really a contenders, but still a chance to get in there. That's it. And Caden's nailed it. Like, we've been given this blessing of a fixture, and at the moment, we've done what we can. You can only play who's in front of you, and you can only beat who's in front of you. So, as you say, we've got this tremendous opportunity for the second time this year, really, to even the ledger. And this is the better opportunity of the two. So it's a time to really lock in, and then, as I said, you get through this week and all of a sudden to sprint to the finish.
Mate, I'm with you. And look, honestly, the gypsy in me, I might take some responsibility, because Jono mentioned the dick pic, and I did genuinely, in my heart of hearts, believe there should be a punishment, a significant amount of sadness for sending a dick pic that's not erect. And it's maybe my fault. So lot, the gypsy in me, I retract the curse on my ancestors. If I've caused it, I retract it. It is lifted. But joking apart, I agree. We've got a game, right? We've got a game to win, right? And I thought what we do today, we're going to go through the team, but I thought we'd try and get a bit of an understanding of just how bad it is. Because that's what Uncle Pom does, right? When I worry about shit, I just go, let's deep dive. So this here, believe it or not, what is on your screen now is what the ladder would look like if Australian rules had proper rules and we just played 2 quarters and it became a half. Why the fuck we play 4 quarters, I don't know. But if it was just ended at half time, this is what the ladder would look like. And you can see there's not much change. The good teams are still where they are, in and around the 8. The bad teams are down the bottom. But what is crazy is the Blues are absolutely flying. The best percentage in the league for just a half. And the free-scoring, free-flowing Adelaide Crows are leading with a game in hand.
Yeah.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy. Well, it does kind of lean into, there's been a bit of commentary and a bit of chat this year about the length of games and the length of quarters. So I wonder if it is something to do with that. Not saying that it's the be-all and end-all of a problem that we come out really strongly in the first half and then we run out of gas. It might be completely something that, or maybe they're not managing it well enough, but there's certainly something in that. Look, I have an issue with not so much how we're starting games and kind of how we manage the games, because I think it's clear, and you can tell me with your tactical nous, Pom, the way we're playing football, particularly at the start of the games, is good enough. Your graphic here illustrates it, and it's showing that, well, that method and style of football is enough to sustain. What I'm finding particularly difficult, particularly over the last 2 weeks, is that there's no real neutral gear in that. So if you think of it like you're driving a manual car, Pom, it's like you start the game, if you start driving, you're driving on a freeway, you're going straight into like 5th or 6th gear to get into that. So you're going full throttle, and then once you get off the highway and you go off onto a side street in a school zone to get to your final destination, you're almost crawling, like going in between, neutral and first gear, and you're kind of rolling on at 40 k's an hour and not really getting anywhere. So there's no real in between with the Blues at the moment, which is really quite concerning. And upon watching the replay of the West Coast game, because you want to watch the replay and sort of watch it without any emotion, I'm thinking, well, did we not have any, could we just not go again? Or did we try and find that gear where we knew this game was safe and we could gear down?
Mate, it's interesting. It is one of them interesting things to look at, because, like you say, Jono, you're spot on. I mean, the best way I could describe it, like our first halves are like me walking in on my wife in the shower. That's what it is. It's a pleasant surprise. Everything's good. The kids are in bed. We may get it. But then, Jono, the second halves are like walking in on my mother-in-law in the shower. I need to get out of there quick. Everything's turned into a Luke Sayers dick pic. It's bad. And a great comment here from J-Dub. Welcome, mate. They do call the third quarter. A little bit of a pop trivia for you. Who do you think, chat, is number 1 for third quarters in the league if you did this ladder? And where do you think Carlton are? I'll give you first heads, John. Who do you think's first in third quarters? Who's the best team in your...
Would it be the Mob on the top of the ladder?
The Magpies have won a staggering 10 third quarters, lost 2 with a percentage that is 13 better than anyone else. So well done, Sonny.
I reckon J-Dub's got it, but I reckon we'd be stone motherless last.
This is going to scare you. We are beating the Eagles by 1.2% at 17th. We are dead last. We are the only team that is... we've got the biggest disparity between our ladder position in it. Biggest disparity. Literally, it's nearly ladder order with a few exceptions. In the top 8 has changed round, but we're worse than Richmond by 10% and a quarter run. Like, it's alarming. It's alarming. But what you're seeing on your screen is the second half's total. And as you can see, look at that percentage, 23.1%.
Yeah, it's worrying, isn't it? It kind of makes you think, well, particularly, and I don't want to keep harping back on the past, but you look at what we were doing last year, particularly in that patch of games in the middle of the season where we were playing our best footy. We'd absolutely nail teams after halftime. So I wonder what's changed. And I made mention at the start of the year when we weren't running out games well, and well, it appears that is still the problem, that we're not running out games well. But I did reference at the start of the year that, you know, they've just changed. They've done a pretty significant change in the high performance. It does take time for that to properly bed down and for athletes' bodies to change and adapt to new coaching and new coaching staffs. And while, you know, the rest of the games against Essendon and West Coast weren't as pretty as the first quarter, you could see, particularly at the start of the Essendon game, they sort of geared back up again to make the game safer than what it was, and sort of did enough. Like, you know, I mentioned it last week, but Akers stepped up, took his moment after playing a poor game. Zach Williams walking into a goal. And then even at the start of the last quarter last week, you know, you win the first centre clearance. Mitch McGovern goes back and kicks the goal. And someone can help me remember who kicked our second goal in the last quarter against West Coast on Sunday. But it just felt like, particularly over those last 2 weeks, that while, yeah, it's still not a great second half performance that we're putting out, and the numbers that you've just put up really illustrate that, they are sort of finding a way into it, which does fill me with a little bit of confidence. But again, you can only play who's in front of you at the moment. And we've been extremely blessed since the bye. We've run into a injury depleted Essendon. We've played a, you know, hardly AFL standard West Coast, and we're running into a North Melbourne side this week who, albeit are a much improved North Melbourne side from the side that we played on Good Friday, but they're still a young, developing team who are learning how to win.
Mate, I agree. And I can give you some more dirty stats if you want. Some more.
We love dirty stats.
There's a video coming out, and we're actually going in that this isn't a player issue. This is by design. So we are literally doing this. This isn't anything football is doing against us. This is Carlton doing something which is either genius or it's chaotic. But one of the biggest metrics is ball movement, and Carlton's ball movement in the first half. We've got a video coming out, so just keep this in your head. But some of the key metrics that change in the first half, right? Carlton's kick-to handball ratio goes from 1.34 to 1.79, right? And usually when that happens, we expect meters gained to dramatically increase. We're actually seeing the meters gained stay the same. And the scariest one, disposals per shot at goal, we're averaging one every 35 in the first, 74 disposals per shot at goal in the second, going from a 20% goal efficiency, which is AFL average, down to 10%.
So then I'll ask you this, Pom, and there was a question in the chat before. Is that a coaching directive, or is that other teams working out what we're doing and us just taking a bit more time to work out what we're doing to get around the changes?
2,000%, that's coaching. 2,000%, without a shadow of a doubt, that is Carlton trying to do something to maybe stunt the momentum in the game, which, ironically, if you watch us try and do it, You see it, other teams do it. The problem is I think I think it just implodes. I just think our players, when you watch good teams killing a game, a great team to watch kill the game is watch Collingwood. They're really annoying. They're really annoying to watch when the game is going against them, that they put the ball in the hands of the better loot users. They go slow. They take the edge off the game. They do take a longer to create a shot, but that shot is true. It goes through. Melbourne, great case in point. They were getting battered. They just kept having one shot at goal, one goal, and keeping the scoreboard steady. I just don't think this week, first coaching move we made was Mitch McGovern down back. And it was made 2 minutes into the third. I think that sends the wrong message to the players. Genuinely, if I was a player and I was a little bit scared, if my boss has told me, don't worry, I'll protect you by taking the only goal threat we've got to cover you, I'd start shitting myself. Because I'd be like, he doesn't have faith in me. And so I don't know what Voss is doing. I'm only assuming this is part of his plan and maybe there's something about to happen. But it's definitely by design. This isn't luck, because we're doing it against teams that don't put pressure on us as well. Like last week, Eagles' pressure rating was like 130. Like my kids put more pressure on me playing rugby out the back of the garden than that. And they're 10.
Yeah. I wonder if there's something in the whole sense of by that directive inadvertently just puts more pressure on the players as well. Because if you're, as a coaching group, you're saying like, right, we're going to put Mitch behind the ball to effectively try and kill this game nice and early. And by that point, the game was over at quarter time against Eagles. Let's be completely honest. But if that's the coaching directive, are you as a player going to get into the psyche is like going like, oh, we've moved into a mode in our game where it's like we're trying to save this game now and actively not lose it. Fuck, if I make a mistake, like not only am I going to cop it from everyone who's watching me, but like I'm going to be the reason why we're going to lose this game. Like, I think that's ultimately one of the biggest failings of the coaching staff this year, is because it's just not enabling a team to play. You don't have to be manic. You don't have to be ballistic, as you rightfully put out. I was at the King's birthday game watching Collingwood kind of, just take a moment, respond, and then, get the ball in the hands of their better kickers. But again, you're playing a team that isn't the West Coast Eagles. They're going to apply a little bit more pressure on you to be able to fluster you. But again, you're being directed to play a let's not lose this or let this get out of hand mentality, which is, it's really weird when you look at it. And I wonder what that would do to the players to basically say is like, we're being coached this half to essentially not lose this game rather than go out and win it. The game on Sunday was a prime opportunity for this group of players to really have a friggin' massive win and build some confidence and just keep going and keep going and keep going. I understand, yes, there were some injury concerns and some mitigating circumstances, which meant we have to try and minimize the damage here. So let's try get it to a safe enough spot and really just get through the rest of this game unscathed. But what I really would have liked to have seen, and we'll talk about it when we get into team selection and sort of the way that I've picked the team for this week and kind of what I want to see, is you want to see them play that go-ahead football a little bit more. And if there's a chance to really go on with it and really just keep attacking, and that's the way that you change your mindset. You can have fun and you don't have to play scared. Play a bit more free-flowing, play a bit more attacking. You can keep your defense. So your defensive integrity has shown that it can stay up if the structure's there and the right people are there. There's a bit to go on the system area as well, but there's a bit of a way that you can there's a bit of a way that you can try and do it. And if that's bedded down, which has been for most of the year, tell the boys, you know what, just have some freedom.
You know what? Part of me thinks there's a little bit of David Teague in this. Do you remember 2019 when he first took over and we played free-flowing? There was no pressure. There was very limited tactical changes. It was almost as if David Teague came in and said, look, I'm not Brendan Bolton. Go out there and have some fun. And they ran away with it, didn't they? 2019, the back end, they had a bit of fun. They beat Brisbane, as we know, first game. They looked good. And then the pressure came 2020 that it was almost like, I'm a head coach now. I have to be nuanced. And the longer David Teague went on, it felt like he'd almost over-structured them. Then I always look back. Everyone will say 2023 is the best football Carlton have played probably for 2 decades. But I wonder how much of that was Voss subscribing to what we saw the first quarter. Go out there, kick the ball long, go direct, have some fun. But he was kind of forced to never change it because at that stage he was 2-8. He was probably sacked if he went 2-8 for the back half of the year. He was probably a 1-year coach. So he was kind of forced to be free. I wonder how much element is in Voss's mind at the minute. You know what? Maybe these fuckers are naturally good at doing this. Because when you watch Collingwood play, when you watch the Doggies play, it shouldn't work for 4 quarters, but it kind of does.
Yeah. Well, you look at the way Collingwood structure up. If you could put any other team in the way that you could put any Collingwood player in any other team, and it just wouldn't work. Like, they would not be the same players. If you put Dan Houston in our team at the moment, we wouldn't be any better or any worse than what we are now. And that's not because of Dan Houston, because he's a very good player and him going into that Collingwood system works. But you could put fucking Oleg Markov in that back line as well. And it works just as well.
And they do.
Yeah, and they do.
Honestly, it scares me. And I just think, I hope Michael Voss somehow comes across this. But I'd love to say to him, just trust them. Because genuinely, I'm of the belief that they probably couldn't play quarter 1 for 4 quarters consistently. But I do think if they play it for 2 quarters, 3 quarters, there's probably enough on the scoreboard for them to hold on very, very cagily.
Well, play this game with me, Pom, and I know we're kind of getting ahead of it. If you look at, say, our next 4 weeks, so we've got North Melbourne this Saturday, we've got Port Adelaide away on Thursday, and then it is Collingwood and the Brisbane Lions. Of those 4 games, how many of those games would you say we need to play as we do in the first quarter for 4 quarters at 100% capacity to beat either of those teams?
I think in the frequency that we score, as we were talking about, I think probably 1.5 quarters against North Melbourne.
Yeah. I'm in
Against Port,
agreement with you there.
Probably Port 2.5 because it's in Port, and their bad quarter can be Banterville. So I'd say 2.5, and then I'd say 3. I know Collingwood are brilliant, but I'd say 3 quarters against the Pies and the Lions. We've probably put enough on there. I reckon we could hold a 35-point lead for a quarter against both of them.
Yeah, I'd probably say you could go a bit more conservative against Brisbane, just because if you say their bad quarters are and their bad games are even worse, and Brisbane kick themselves out of more games than not these days. But I'd say with Collingwood, and again, I hate harping on the past, but when we got over Collingwood in 2023, we were absolutely redlining it, and they were in neutral. They knew what mode that they were in. It was a great game for us to play. But even, 5 minutes into the game and they'd cut the margin back to 3 goals and we had to go again to make it safe. We had to win that game 4 or 5 times in that last quarter.
You know what, though? You're spot on, and this isn't a new thing. Do you remember Hawthorn a couple of years ago when we were like 45, 50 ahead with a quarter to go? I would genuinely say what you're seeing now isn't so much a Voss issue, it's a team issue. Even in 2018, there was times that these boys were leading, they would implode out of nowhere. And I just don't think any coach has ever come to Carlton, looked the list up and down and gone, the last fuckers I want to play kick to kick and control a game is this list, right? And it's little things like last week in our bad quarters, the guys who had the ball the most are Adam Sarr, Doc, players like that. They're the last 2 players on this list I want having the ball 10 times to control the game. I want Adam Cherra to have the ball. I want the good users to have the ball. If you look at Collingwood, when they're in the shit, the best users have the football. The other guys run around them trying to get into space. It almost feels like there is a complete mistrust in the playing group, in the coaching group, of each other. And unfortunately, these guys are, I hate to say it, these guys are vibes. They're Vibe FC. Like, give them the fucking vibes.
Give them the vibes.
Well, what you see on your screen chat and Jono, right? So players that are in yellow are the players that are statistically the worst on their line over the last 2 weeks or the last 2 games. So you'll see Motlop, no surprise. You'll see Akers, no surprise. Matt Carroll might be a surprise, but look who's on his lines with him. They're fairly consistent footballers. You'll see on the bench Sam Doherty, bit harsh, maybe, but he has been down. Greens are guys that are a test. Blues are guys that we haven't seen. And if we have a red, it means he has to be replaced because the player that played last week is dead. Right? So, well, not physically dead, euphemistically dead. Hudson O'Keefe. So, like, Jono and chat, is there any name that's playing there, with the exception of Curnow, someone you think needs a spell? Because this is probably the last chance we have to play with someone. Because I think after this game, they're all at best 50-50.
Well, let's cut to the chase. Let's cut to the chase. There's no way you can rightly play Charlie Curnow this week unless he's 1,000,000% ready to go. And the very simple reasons behind that are it's a 6-day break with a travel home from Perth into a 5-day break with a travel to Adelaide. And the other reason is, as we spoke about before, this season is still alive. And as long as this season is still alive for us, you have to protect your greatest assets. And what is the greatest asset for Carlton between now and the end of the season and hopefully doing anything? It is a fully fit Charlie Curnow. We saw how the end of his season and our season got mangled because we mismanaged his body. We saw how his preseason and the start of his season didn't look amazing because he just kept on getting niggles. Even if he kicks and screams and has to be dragged out of Michael Voss's office like a 2-year-old, Charlie, you are not playing this game of football. And Toby Pink is going to go absolute amazing because Harry and Charlie have absolutely kicked the living daylights out of North Melbourne since in the last 4 or 5 years. Over the last 5 games, I think they've kicked something of almost 30 goals between them in that stretch of games. It's quite something. So they're going to be sleeping pretty, thinking, thank fuck we don't have to deal with this shit. But as long as you're Carlton, you are saying, Charlie, while we are still alive, you cannot be playing this game.
I'm 100% in agree with you. Chat, what do you think? Would you? I genuinely think, my heart of hearts, I think it would be cowardice and foolish to play Charlie today. Like genuinely, like for me, it would be the club risking it all for 4 points
against North.
When
And again,
potentially,
all due respect to North Melbourne, because you have to respect your opposition.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
As I've just said, as if you are still alive and want to be still alive in this season, you have to look after your biggest asset. And for Carlton, that is Charlie Curnow.
But would you agree, Winner, in chat? Would you agree, though, that I agree with you? I think he's defensive and his mobility has looked shot for a while. I actually think the club might be lying to us, and I don't think this is recent. I think he's been hampered by it for a while because it's been obvious the way he's moving. Like, he hasn't been moving as free as he always did. I genuinely think this has been something that's hampering him for at least 6 weeks. So even if he is passing this test, my logic would say, okay, this has been probably going on for a while. So maybe the extra week, short turnaround in games, give him the week. Give him the week.
If you take Charlie out of that team and you replace him with, say, Lewis Young comes in, Pitternet comes in to sort of bolster the ruck, and with Tom de Koning, I know Tom de Koning destroyed Sherry on Good Friday, but he had.
But he was with Lewis Young, remember, and Lewis Young got the better of him a few times in that game.
That is very true. So you bring in Lewis Young, you bring in sort of Pitternet as well for that extra height as well. I'm not. Well, we can have the Harry Lemmy discussion in a few minutes' time, but even then, you look around the park. There's still enough quality and good players in that lineup to get over North Melbourne.
Well, look, I mean, I would say if I was picking this team, I would like to see Lewis Young, McGovern, and Harry Lemmy there.
Yeah.
And the reason I say Harry Lemmy, I think he leads. I think he works hard. We have to have a second ruck option in this game. We have to. Last week, seeing Cripps go back into the ruck when he's also got his calf issue as well. His calf, and the club has said he's okay. He always is injured, but I think you've got to bring. I know people hate Lewis Young, but you have to bring in a second ruck option. Like, I don't think it should be Pitternet though. Like, my heart of hearts, I'd rather. TDK's been doing 90% all year. He's been going very well at it. If you bring Young in, he's got the protection. He can block. He can take Toby Pink to the goal square. And Lemmy, and I'll say this, people are overrated Lemmy. I love Harry Lemmy. But look at Hudson O'Keefe's first quarter against the Eagles. I said it last week. He was playing pretend backman against Essendon. He played bang average AFL ruck backman against Eagles. Didn't see the ball. Didn't see the ball once. So I think Lemmy has got to. He needs the help. He needs two people. Needs someone to block. McGovern can be his legs, but Lemmy does his best work playing on a guy that's an Audi postman in VFL. So we've got to try and help him do that here.
So you've seen a lot more of the VFL than I have, Pom. It's a little bit of now or never for Harry Lemmy. He's put a good block of form in, but there is the argument to say that, the goals have come against, a low-ranked Sydney. He's kicked the bag against the Bull Ants. He kicked some goals there against Frankston as well. Is the form line, is it real? Is it all pointing towards, like, here is finally your long-awaited AFL debut? Or are we just saying, like, oh, we need a tall bloke? He's actually looked okay the last few weeks. Just throw him in.
I think as a second ruck, he will be a second forward. I think he'll be fine. Like, he'll be fine. If you were telling me, Harry Lemmy's going to play at full forward, Mitch McGovern's going to be his partner, I would say that'll be the easiest defending Toby Pink and Co. have ever had in the history of in their lives, because Lemmy's going to get monstered and McGovern is evasive. But look where he took his marks against the Eagles. It was when he was on a natural one-on-one. And they've got enough players to double team both, stifle them. I think Young there, although I don't think Young is a 50-goal player, I think keeping him in the goal square and keeping one of them occupied helps Lemmy. If Lemmy's the second, working up the wing, being the link man, I think he's ready to play AFL football, Jono. I think he's ready. I think he'll surprise.
I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him get a chance. And again, there's not many opportunities to come in, particularly with some of the guys that are ahead of him and been playing key position this year. You've mentioned Lewis Young and the turnaround that has had. I'm stealing a bit of Nick's thunder because I know Nick loves him, but I've really enjoyed what I've seen from Lewis Young this year. I think he's done everything that has been asked of him this year. Every single time he's come into the team.
Yeah, I feel like, to be honest, I think it would be, in my opinion, playing Pitternet would be mental. I'd rather TDK won his battle against Zeri, so I think he's proved you don't need a big ruckman to play Jerry.
Yeah, because if you bring in Pitternet, it just immobilizes that whole setup.
It's already fucking flat-footed. I'm not making it. I mean, the next guy on here is obviously, let's just say, because I think chat agree with us, it's Lemmy in this space.
Yeah.
So Lemmy debuts.
Lemmy debuts.
Motlop. Now, do you think this is the chance? I'm going to suggest this to you and chat, Jono. If this looks something like this. And I know you're going to get around it because he was originally in your team. Watching Flynn Lung this weekend, it gave me shades of Elijah Hollins, right? Having someone to play that half-forward role who's going to be the link man, which I think he hits up Lemmy. The last 2 weeks they've played together, it's almost like Flynn Young has been born with Lemmy. So bring him in so we've got that hit-up target to really help him. I think suddenly that looks really balanced, and that's saying to me, if we put, Lemmy where he'd play, right? Put Lemmy where he'd play, the third option, and then Chincotta is on the pine. I feel confident playing against North now with that forward line.
Yeah, me too. And I think the whole premise of not stopping to a walk and continuing to play that go-ahead footy in that second half, you talk about that link man, that's the way that Flynn plays. He plays in the way that he's constantly looking to get the ball on, either hitting up the target or if there's no target presenting itself, is not afraid to have a ping for goal as well, which is something that, fair enough. We had a few guys on the weekend do that and really misfire badly and ended up costing the team, but not costing the team, but blowing some chances. But he can kick some goals. So if you'd like him to hit a chest inside 50 or if you know that he can kick the goal, So I'd love to see him come in.
He did kick some nice ones, shiny blue as well. He's got an eye. I like the fact that he's selfish in the right ways. Like he selfishly takes the shot knowing he can get it, as opposed to taking the shot. The next one, I mean, I think we all agree Carroll stays.
Yeah.
And the chat seems split on Akers and Doherty. For mine, I do feel like if we are dropping Motlop, which I agree, I think Motlop it has been poor. He had the good, if he's playing forward, he's in my team. But obviously in this, who would we rather have out of these two? Like Doherty or Akers? Because there is a certain, and I had him in my team. This is where me and Jono disagreed. But I had Ben Camperelli in my original team. And I feel like you can't argue with his form at the minute. His form is brilliant. And he's got something. I mentioned it in my VFL wrap today. If I was trying to replace Sam Walsh, the most obvious choice is Ben Camperelli because he's got the footy IQ. He's got the footy smarts. He's got it.
Yeah, my whole thing, my reasoning why I didn't pick Ben Camperelli, full disclosure, Pom and chat, was I wanted to get him in. I tried looking for a spot, but I couldn't find a midfield / half forward spot that he'd fit into really. Young kind of is, or I'd expect him to kind of play a bit of that Motlop role, start deep, push up, and then try pound back to goal and maybe not go anywhere near the centre bounces like Jesse has been. But really for me going into the game, I was thinking, well, if a mid goes badly or if Lockie Fogarty goes badly, then one of them will come out for Ben Camperelli, but Fogarty actually played pretty bloody well. So I am still holding on Ben Camperelli for the moment, but he's really not far away.
Like, call me crazy, but I look at their midfield, all their big bodies we take out, and I watched Ben intensely this weekend. And the fact we started to throw him a little bit on the wing, so it was almost like watching South Australia in the national champs last year, and then him spurt through the middle. It was very Sam Walsh the last 2 weeks before he got hurt. I would not be against Ben Camperelli this week lining up against Finn O'Sullivan, lining up against the other young guys they've got there, McKercher and stuff, because I think Ben Camperelli has got it.
It's got him for size.
And I just think he's an intelligent footballer. And when people say, oh, he doesn't use the ball very well, neither does fucking Walsh. But like if Walsh didn't know a bolter, the average Carlton fan would blame pizza. Like Ben Camperelli makes Walsh does. I'd say he's got Cripps and Hewitt protecting him. Should be the easiest 20 minutes of game on the ball ever with them two behemoths protecting you.
Yeah, I could see him potentially coming in as the sub if he was.
Okay, so what about you all agree, chat? We kill Akers. What about if we do the classic Voss?
The classic Voss. So Doherty's pushed up to the wing.
Yeah.
And Ben Camperelli is the sub. I could live with that.
Chat. Because I feel like we've moved on past Akers. And I want to give Jackson Binns a shout out. He has been brilliant.
Yeah, he played very well. Played well on Sunday.
Like, I really like Binns. I feel like Binns did everything I expect. So, chat, you want Doc on the bench, Ben Camperelli to start?
Doc plays well as sub. Sure, I reckon Doc's only played one game as sub. He had like 15 touches in a quarter and we lost the game. So I don't know if that's really it. No, I'm keeping Doherty on the field. I'm playing Doc a full game. He had one. Yeah, his kicking's not great, but if he's playing across half back and is intercepting as well and trying to set up the play, I think that's where he was at his best, particularly against Essendon.
Look, I reckon that, if we chat, I'll sell it to you all. That is the team. Because look, Ollie, worst case, can go there. So we've got a rotation, right? we could fiddle with that because I'm even happy to change one of these to sub. But saying that, Lord's played wing this year, so you've got that. He's got that protection. I don't mind it. Like, I genuinely think if that team went out Saturday night, Saturday Arva, I think it wins.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Like personally, if I was picking a sub, if this was my team, I would put Fantasia as sub, and I feel like Durden's final quarter sells me for him to start on field.
Yeah.
So what about that?
Fine.
Because we seem to rotate a small forward as sub, right?
Yeah, it's the Voss selection trick.
Yeah, but we've got rid of the midfield, haven't we? We've got rid of the Motlop midfield rotation. And if we made him sub, we would force Voss to give the midfield minutes to Lord and Camporelli.
Mm.
We're actually clever here. Chat, we fixed the club and Voss wouldn't actually know because we've taken that role away from him and said, you have to use a player that potentially has played this role once in a lifetime. Like it would actually work because Ben Camporelli would be like, no. So, I mean, you look at that. So, oh, wait, have I? Oh, wait. Says it's because I didn't delete Durden. There you are.
There you go.
Hey, look, Durden's there. Double it up.
There we go.
Well, chat, I hope you enjoyed the new shorter format of the show. I had to come up with something, but we are live in 10 minutes again anyway for the State of Origin. But thank you very much for joining us, having a bit of a laugh with us. I've enjoyed it. I hope you're raring to go this weekend, right? Jono, before we go, give them some words of encouragement and tell them why the Gardner stand is better than the Herald Sun.
Oh, well, how long have you got, Pom? But basically, the Gardner stand is about one team and one team only. It's about Carlton. There's an easy way to get involved. Basically, Pom has popped the link in the chat. All you need to do is you need to click on that link. And when you click on that link, there will be a nice pop-up ball menu bar, whatever it's called. And all you need to do is plunk your email address into that, select which level of membership you want to sign up for, and then whenever we post something, it gets delivered straight to your inbox. So you don't even have to go looking for it. It will be delivered straight to where you get your emails and all that. You can find us on socials at Gardner Stand, on Twitter and Instagram, and we're posting Carlton content. We'll have something up at the end of this week, hopefully once we've squared the ledger, we can kind of look ahead to what's going on, and then we'll have a little bit of an interesting look at how we're going to play out the rest of the season and what's been, and sort of what are the big gaps that we need to, what are the big gaps that we really need to fill between now and then. And we might be looking at someone to go, if I'm Graham Wright, I would do this.
Great, Graham Wright. What about you? You know what? I'll put my hand up to do his job. Can't be that hard. Can't be that hard.
No. Well, Pommy, have you been a CEO before? Because Graham Wright's never been a CEO.
Oh, it can't be that hard just to tell everyone that they're fucking idiots. To be honest, yeah, I could do that. I'd do it for half of Graham Wright's salary and be equally as ruthless. But thank you very much, Winner. We know we're better than the Herald Sun. I just had to pick up. I had to just pick on the Herald Sun a bit. And make sure you go down there anyway, because seeing I'm putting gypsy curses on you, if you don't go to Jono's website and enter your email address, the second halves will continue and it will be entirely your bloodline and your fault. So there you are. I've shifted the curse. For a curse to be lifted, it has to be put on someone else. So there you are. What have I got for the rest of the week? Oh, I've got a State of Origin in 10 minutes' time with you guys and girls. Tomorrow will be the preview. We have a real special video coming out this week on Carlton's deep dive into the second half. So them stats we talked about today, we've got some more positional changes all their GPS data. We try and analyze that. And then we've got some fun videos. We've got where do the halfway point winners of the ladder traditionally finish in the AFL. So we're going to see our Collingwood a foregone conclusion. Historically, loads of fun content, loads of lives this week. You've got me twice every day this weekend. Saturday, we're both live for Carlton and the Collingwood game. And then Sunday, we're live for both of the junior games to watch Cody Walker and Harry Dean. So we're looking forward to that. But thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back next week with a full team. Love you all. Bye.
See you, everyone.
Helps if you hit end stream, Pom, doesn't it?